If you were a mainstream celebrity, so what it says Hollywood basically like issues a statement to Hamas to release all hostages, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to ask, but it doesn't matter because people are crazy right now. And no matter what you say, you're going to piss off someone. Like, Hollywood is an industry that's insulated. You don't need to issue a statement. That's what's like, that's the difference between that and like a lot of social media influencers now who feel like they have to speak on everything that gets said all the time. If I was a celebrity, I wouldn't have an opinion on any of this stuff.
If they ignored it, though, they would get criticized too, right? Like, they can't drop their new skincare line right now.
Yeah, but my argument to that is always like, look, it's a lot easier to pull up what somebody said, not something somebody didn't say. So yes, somebody can make a comment about how you didn't speak up on an issue, but that doesn't show up in a search key.
Yeah.
And even if it does, even if it comes up with articles that say so-and-so is
it'll
silent.
come up with Reddit threads. And
Like that's not the same thing as coming up with a bunch of boneheaded things that you said on a topic that you're not super educated on. But this says Tiffany Haddish, Bradley Cooper, Justin Timberlake, Chris Rock, and Gwyneth Paltrow are among the big names who signed an open letter to Joe Biden, which calls on Hamas to set all prisoners free. It'll imagine like Hamas is like, oh, well, we weren't going to do that, but now that Tiffany Haddish...
I love Justin
That's my
Timberlake.
perspective on this. Like, why do you think that
like some terrorist is like, I love the song Suit and Tie. I'm gonna release them. You've changed my mind. Like
they're so well known for loving Western culture.
Yeah, they love everything about all of these people. Like somebody out there's like, look, I want the Goop skincare line. I'm gonna release the hostages because
this is my in with Gwyneth.
Yes, they're looking for their way in. They're looking to get the vagina scented candles exported to their nation, and the only way that's gonna happen is if they release hostages. That's insane.
This is more like a reminder of why they're doing what they're doing. Like, if anything, you know what? I'm
going to hold them as hostages twice as hard now, okay?
until Gwyneth Paltrow refuses to support, I'm not going to release these hostages. It's like, take your name off this letter or we're keeping them forever. It's and if you think that us making these comments is ridiculous, I think that's as ridiculous as celebrities seeming to care about people that I just don't buy that they actually care about most of the time. But maybe I'm cynical. Like, I really do believe that we live in such a front-facing world now where it's very hard to believe that everybody cares this much all the time about everything. And I wonder how much of it is just like, you're going to forget in a week and you're not going to care anymore.
Yep.
And
I was having a conversation about
this issue.
I was having a conversation about this earlier. It's like one of our coworkers was talking about like pathological altruism. And that's what this kind of thing is, but it isn't. It's like pathological narcissistic altruism, to where it's like you're not doing things on behalf of somebody else's good. You're doing things you predict will lead to the benefit of you because of their perception of you, and that is a completely different thing, even if it has the same mechanics that lead you there. But if your goal is to like, I'm gonna look like it's the Julia Roberts Indonesia commercial. It's like, I'm gonna look like the best person in the world. It's the worst motivation to do anything.
It's,
even if it's a good thing.
Is a lot of it like I kind of take oddly enough I'm kind of giving them crap, but I tend to take the opposite approach. Most of the time I say like their motives don't really matter as long as it actually does good. But this doesn't. I don't buy that this actually does any good. Like when a celebrity donates a bunch of money and people are like, they're just doing it for the tax break. I'm like, so. Like why do I care what their
I do care about
is?
those things, whether it's something like this or something like that, because those things incentivize the further insidious creep of like it's a creep of that type of motivation. And if you go into an institution thinking that way, it rots it out over time.
Yeah.
If I agree. Was these people, I wouldn't get. Look, I did this thing yesterday where Nicolas Cage showed up in Australia. He's like filming a movie in Australia, and he shows up at this like telethon. First of all, I was pumped to know telethons are still a thing. Like I was like, let's freaking go. Like, can we hold a We should have a pop culture crisis telethon.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
How the hell would I do that? Could we do that with Discord? Like, I want to do a 24-hour.
YouTube, probably.
Call in.
I want to like
YouTube.
a 24-hour telethon to raise money for the show. And but okay, so he shows up at this telethon and he donates $5,000 to Australian kids charities. And the first thing everyone says is, why did he only donate $5,000? I would take the money back if I was him. He'd be like, now you get nothing. Like, deal with it, bro. Because it's never enough.
Yeah.
To them, it's never going to be enough. Any amount you donate, it's like what they said with The Rock. I said, like, look, I thought they were a little bit tone deaf in their delivery, but it's like, to them, there is no actual right answer. You will never give enough money for them. If he has a net worth of $250 million and you give them $249 million, I'm like, plenty of people live on $500,000 a year. Why don't you give 29? Why don't you give the other $500,000 of half of your income? That's not how the world actually works. Nobody who actually is successful would think that it does, right? But when you are part of an industry that panders to an audience, you then have to start worrying about what they're going to think about everything you do, all from the bad things you do to the most altruistic. And I don't know if that's a way I would want to live. Like, can you imagine having to live like that? Yeah,
because you could say you could get to the point where you don't care at all. But if you want to stay in the limelight, you want to stay relevant, you do have to. Like, whether people want to admit it or not. It's one of the things we joked about, why we thought Gwyneth, like, why I was like, I'm standing Gwyneth Paltrow because she's completely inaccessible and elitist and doesn't try to be something that she's not. And I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I don't always need a celebrity to be a man of the people. I'm completely fine with them being their own thing. Like, if they want to just not donate their money and save their money, as long as they're not, telling me what I have to do or how to live my life, why do I care? Yeah, I agree. Like, and even then, I guess I don't really care because I don't have to listen to them. Yeah. But I guess the point would be, like, they still reach lots of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point about, like, if they're going to be that, and that not all of them have to be man of the people, but they still, at the end of the day, like, they're going to do. It is a, like, PR thing at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, they understand that it's going to make them, it's going to benefit their career. Totally. And this is something that
it's
Dane was
disingenuous is all I'm saying.
But this is something Dane was bringing up on the show yesterday, where he says, like, everybody now is like, all these celebrities, they're brands. So when they're virtue signaling on social media, sure, maybe they believe what they're saying, maybe they don't. But at the end of the day, it's good for their brand. Right. Their brand benefits from it. So they might actually care about what happens to other people halfway around the world, but it benefits their brand to be seen caring about what happens to people halfway around the world. And I've just had a bit of an issue with the amount of people I've seen who used to be all about free speech. You don't need to post the black square. It's if you don't care, you don't care. Or even if you do care, but you don't want to share your opinion because you don't think that your opinion is the most important thing in the world. Though a lot of people who used to believe that suddenly don't seem to believe that anymore and think that you have to have an opinion on every little issue that's going on right now. So a celebrity that chooses not to speak on it, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. I don't need to hear their opinion and all that stuff. And if anything, I kind of appreciate people who think more than one step ahead. They're like, look, everybody is pissed right now. You're going to upset someone. Am I supposed to hold it against them that they're doing what's best for their career? I would be more annoyed by a lazily written, poorly thought out stance that. Do you see the Ryan Long thing? I never miss a stance. But like a lazily worded stance on something that they don't really care about. Like, you don't need to have an opinion on all this stuff, but the celebrities have to. They don't know how to live without it.
Not anymore.
And you could make a little bit of an argument here that it's not like this was on social media, that this was directly to the president, so that's not the same thing. I'm sure they all posted it on their pages as well,
or it leaked.
But I also think a lot of it is like they're successful and they have lots of downtime, so they pick up these causes because it both helps them feel better about themselves and deal with the guilt that they feel for being wealthy, because a lot of them have been bred into this industry to feel guilty for the success that they have.
While simultaneously striking.
Yes.
For not getting paid enough.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? How do you feel about the strike?
I don't care.
Don't care?
I don't care.
I don't think the average person cares.
No, I don't care.
I don't think the average human being cares.
No, especially I know that it doesn't just apply to rich actors. It applies to all the actors. And so that's obviously, I can shed a tear for that and say, like, it sucks for everybody, even the people that are barely making it by, but that doesn't stop them. Below the line
people are suffering more
than but that doesn't stop them from doing the job that they were probably doing anyway.
Yeah.
So it mostly changes nothing, but for that certain level, I should say. But to your point earlier, the thing that about everybody having to have their opinion, especially celebrities, like, it is like, you should be smart enough to not do that. right now. You should be smart enough to know that, like, it's not even what your take is, it is the depth of your take that is going to be scrutinized. Like, if you're like, hey, I just don't want a bigger war, and it's like an explosion is coming at you, like, it will not benefit you. You should be the person who's saying, like, this is not going to benefit my business to come out with
Mikey, there's a $20 super chat here from Mikey. Says, I miss when being apolitical was the best stance. Yeah, well, that was true in a world that didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. And for celebrities, I think it's addictive. Like, there's every opportunity constantly to get yourself press, and they just don't know how to parse out when is a good time and when's a bad time. And yeah, like, to your point, like, yesterday we did a thing where I basically said, like, look, Hollywood is more divided than it's ever been on this issue. And I picked out 5 very specific examples of celebrities who gave the most decently worded, neutral takes that basically said, I don't want anyone of any location to be harmed. And all of them got destroyed.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it just makes you ask, why get involved at all?
I just think about them asking Mariah Carey in the 90s these kinds of questions, and like, there's just no way you would expect her to like have any kind of answer to this that would make, like, to even know about the topic, right?
My logic used to be, my statement used to be, everyone today, like, especially if you're a celebrity, they have to pretend as if they're running for president. But I think that's wrong. I think everyone today, if they're a celebrity, has to pretend like they're answering beauty pageant questions. And they're like, I just want everybody to get along. Like, I would rather that, right? Like,
the problem is that, like, before, these things were not at the forefront of our mind all the time. They weren't an industry that way. They were escapism, so you didn't want to hear it. But now, because they are at the forefront of everything, like, we're being jammed in the eyes and ears with celebrity news, they have to have an opinion on it, because if they don't talk about it, they're like, how can you be talking about your movie while there are people in
or
Ukraine,
they lose traction, or they lose traction, and they just fall out of the news cycle, which is the death knell for them as well.
It's like the whole any publicity is good publicity. That's unfortunately true. Like, even if it's bad, it's going to propel you to the next story.
Dane says that's not true. Dane believes that there is such a thing as bad publicity.
I think there is as well, but like, it is a mass generalization.
There's a $20 super chat here from Dr. Tran. Says, I miss when people stayed in their lane. You're an actor, not a politician. But you're not just an actor anymore now. You're also a publicist and a manager. You're a lot of things besides just like, most of the, like, we were talking, was like, you know what I miss more than anything? I want the strike to end so they can start saying stupid things again, so I have stuff to report on selfishly. And they're not wrong. Like, they're kind of right about that. Like, I'm ready for them to come back so that they can, like, for instance, gents, ladies, 50 Cent tells Joe Biden to get up from the beach and go and fix things. Like, who would have thought that 50 Cent would be a voice of reason in the, I guess he made fun of Madonna once, so he's at least right 50%, 50 cents of the time. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.